Most patients infected with HIV cannot afford life-saving medicines. To make these patented drugs accessible, governments can issue compulsory licenses that are legal under TRIPS, the Agreement on Trade-Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights. Thailand's government has set an example by issuing a compulsory license on Kaletra. Kaletra, a protease inhibitor, is a combination of two anti-HIV drugs called lopinavir and ritonavir. In 2005, Abbott Laboratories developed a heat-stable form of Kaletra called Alluvia. This heat-stable form can be taken without food and does not need to be refrigerated. Listen to how this drug changed these patients' lives.
One investigative reporter went out and tried to find some people living with HIV/AIDS and to try to figure out what the impact was of not having this heat-stable form available. What might happen. And they found one woman who sold silk flowers that she spent all day, cutting out and tying together. I don't know how to make them, but she did. And she would sell them at the local market and make some money. And the story was that 50% of every dollar she earned, she had to use to buy ice, to put in the ice into her lunchbox, to put her capsules, the non-heat stable forms of Kaletra, in this ice box, and carry around with her every day so she could take her medicine. No holidays, no I forgot, that it's a hot country and the medicine degrades if it isn't kept cold.
It gave me hope to be able to live longer. I was weak when I was first infected with HIV, but when I take this medication, I feel better. It is just like I died and was born again.
You don't have to take it with food. The old Kaletra, you had to refrigerate it.
Okay.
Now this one, the new yellow ones, you don't have to do that.
As you can see, it's important that patients in middle and low-income countries have access to the heat-stable form of Kaletra. Issuing a compulsory license would allow generic production of Kaletra, making it cheaper and affordable. Here is Thailand's story.
Thailand has often been hailed as a success story in the fight against AIDS. In 1993, almost 150,000 new infections were recorded, but by last year, that rate had been reduced to 17,000. But while Thailand's prevention strategy has won global praise, its treatment program has upset a number of pharmaceutical companies.
After the Thai government issued a compulsory license on Kaletra, the pharmaceutical industry launched a smear campaign designed to discredit the Thai government. Now we are setting the record straight.
Myth 1. Thailand's compulsory licenses are illegal.
Melissa Broads, a spokesperson for Abbott, said,
"We do not view the compulsory license on Kaletra legal.
But the truth is,
compulsory licensing is perfectly legal. It's allowed under the World Trade Organization TRIPS agreement. Thailand has not broken any international agreement. It is acting within its rights completely. Many other countries carry out compulsory licensing, including Canada for ciprofloxacin after the anthrax attacks in the US. Countries in Europe regularly carry out compulsory licensing. Malaysia and Indonesia have done it in 2004 regarding AIDS drugs.
Myth 2. Compulsory licenses can only be issued in extreme emergencies.
the president of Thailand's Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers Association said,
The law allows such action with pharmaceutical products only in cases of extreme national emergencies or during wartime.
But the truth is, the Doha Declaration states that the use of compulsory licenses is not limited to cases of emergency or urgency, but it also says that member states can decide for themselves what amounts to national emergency. Thailand's government considers their AIDS epidemic to be an issue of national emergency.
The Thai government says this is actually a medical emergency. Is it that bad? I mean, does it qualify for special attention?
I believe it does because, in fact, we need to provide antiretroviral drugs to about 200,000 people of those 600,000, and more will need them.
And why are those people not getting those drugs?
At the moment, we've only just managed to start getting accelerated access to antiretrovirals to those who need them. Now, most people who are informed and come for treatment can get these drugs, but many are starting to get resistant to the first-line drugs. They will require second-line drugs, which are much, much more expensive.
Myth 3. Compulsory licenses are limited to the poorest countries.
One reporter said,
Thailand is an especially bad fit for compulsory licensing. Thailand is comfortably in the top half of all nations ranked by per capita GDP, with an average income 15 times that of the world's poorest countries.
But the truth is that with Kaletra's $1,000 price, which is almost half of Thailand's GDP per person, it is impossible for the government to provide widespread treatment.
The doctor in charge of treating children here says that's crucial to allow treatment for all.
If we have to pay, if we have to use the licensing drug, that is expensive. So if we use it, the number that people can access the treatment quite limited and cannot expand to the general population.
Myth 4. Drug companies and the U.S. Trade Representative are justified in retaliating.
To punish Thailand's action, Abbott withdrew applications to register 7 drugs in Thailand, including the heat-stable form of Kaletra. Additionally, the U.S. Trade Representative put Thailand on the USTR priority watch list. Abbott justified their actions
because Thailand has chosen to break patents on a number of medicines, ignoring the patent system. We've lawfully elected not to introduce new medicines.
But the truth is, Abbott was not justified.
Drug companies are they're in the position that they're making the only source of a life-saving medicine. It's not just theirs. You know, it's the patient's medicine. It's society's medicines. These are public goods, right? And the idea that the company, to retaliate against the lawful use of a TRIPS-compliant flexibility, can take the medicine off the market, and there's nothing wrong with that, is pretty outrageous, right? A dominant firm, Abbott, in with the best protease inhibitor currently on the market, dual dose ritonavir leponavir, in a heat-stable form, was taking that off the market without justifiable reason. In fact, not only with an unjustifiable reason, but for an undefensible reason, in retaliation for the lawful use of a flexibility.
Myth 5. A TRIPS Plus trade agreement with the U.S. is beneficial for public health.
In October 2003, President Bush announced that he wanted to enter into free trade agreement negotiations with Thailand. This agreement includes TRIPS Plus provisions that would make it nearly impossible to issue compulsory licenses.
The U.S. is also pressuring Thailand on the compulsory licensing measure, which is also an addition to the standard TRIPS agreement. The U.S. requirement will make it very difficult for the Thai government to use the compulsory licensing measure. This will definitely be an important obstacle for the improvement of the public health system in Thailand.
If we accept the US-Thai FTA, it will also become very difficult to use the composite license. We will be forced to go through the course each time. This will take at least 4 years, and many patients will die.
Given that TRIPS Plus provisions threaten access to medicines, countries that are entering into trade agreements with the U.S. that include TRIPS Plus should know that they can be disastrous for public health. A U.S.-Thailand free trade agreement would restrict the use of compulsory licensing and cost the government an additional $3.2 billion over 20 years in their HIV/AIDS program. HIV activists should encourage their governments to follow Thailand's example with Kaletra. Governments need to put patients before patents by exercising their right to issue compulsory licenses.